technically I was right.
You are my friend. あの日の夢今でもまだ忘れてないんでしょ You are my dream 始まってばっか君らは long as way 今旅立つよ
Hey everyone, Cortes The Critic, and welcome back. And yes, I am wearing my XFL jersey, which means it's time to talk about some XFL news. Now, the biggest thing that came out during my hiatus was that the 8 cities have been officially announced. And also, 2 head coaches, according to the website, have officially been already announced. So, pretty much, I gotta make up for lost times, and better late than never. So, let's go back to the 8 cities and see what my thoughts are. For all of you who need a quick recap, in 2001, these were the 8 cities that were initially a part of. They were the LA Extreme, the New York, New Jersey Hitmen, the Chicago Enforcers, the Las Vegas Outlaws, the Birmingham Bolt, I know, right? San Francisco Demons, the Orlando Rage, and of course the Memphis Maniacs. Now, those were pretty much well spread out. Some were in regions that would make sense, you know, like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, while others seemed to be like a little bit iffy, mainly with the Memphis, Orlando, and Birmingham locations. And yes, you know, everyone else seems to be kind of like mixed in between. Now, there were thoughts about possibly the XFL going back to these cities, and of course, during my video, which by the way, thanks to all of you who have subscribed and watched, it is my longest viewed video, the XFL recap I did a couple of months ago, so I do appreciate it. I announced my 8 cities that I believe that could potentially be a good home for an XFL team. Now, during the whole time this was going on, I was unaware, sadly, of the Alliance Football League, or the Alliance Football of America. Yeah, you know, very, very patriotic name. I'm just going to call it the Alliance Football League. And that one, actually 2 of the cities that I suggested have already announced themselves having teams and have already started playing. So I think by default, those eliminate those 2 teams out from contention of the XFL. Plus, I feel like the XFL is going for a much bigger market, which I'll show recently. So, these are the 8 cities, and I'm pretty much going to go based on order, based, I believe, on region, where I believe that one conference would be this one, and one will be on this conference. So, in no real particular order, here is the list, and we'll start with, of course, with the first one. The first city to be announced will be Dallas. Dallas, which will be playing in their Global Life Park 48,000 capacity stadium, home of the Texas Rangers, the Major League Baseball League. Now, Texas is one of the few cities that I didn't think of, because I was thinking more of San Antonio, because Dallas, Houston, and well, pretty much all the major cities of Texas got professional sports teams of all different calibers. And I thought that, you know, San Antonio was always a city that was very popular and didn't get any. But like I said, they did get our Alliance Football League and the Commodores, or the Comraders, or whatever. Sorry. Poor judgment on that part. But San Antonio did get a professional football team, and it's football in Texas. I think it's kind of hard to say no to. But Dallas, one of the bigger markets getting an XFL team. Very smart for the way the XFL wants to go. They want to get the higher market. And it's football, and I feel like with Texas, it's hard for them to say, more football? Please. I will never say no. So to me, even though I kind of don't want Dallas to get another one, and I am begging, please, don't let whoever's in charge of marketing the name for their mascot or marketing their team name, please do not make anything Cowboy related. I mean, we've had the Dallas Cowboys, and then they had an arena football team known as the Dallas Desperados. The logos seem very similar to each other, so please, for the love of God, don't make any kind of cowboy reference and no star on it. Make it something original, Dallas. Come on, you can do that. I trust you to an extent. So yeah, Dallas, part of the XFL. Welcome. The next city, we're going to stay in Texas. That's right, and this Texas is another one. And it's going to go to the next big city with their own sports franchises of multiple teams and multiple leagues, and that will be Houston. The city of Houston will also get an XFL team, and they'll be playing in the TDECU Stadium, which is a 40,000 capacity stadium, also home of the University of Houston Cougars and a college football team. Similar to how I feel about Dallas, it makes sense, even though Dallas will be playing in a baseball field. This one is actually a college town area, and I kind of feel that's going to hit more towards the college crowd of Houston. I mean, you can't really have one in Texas, for the Longhorns, or in TCU. Houston seems to be the perfect place. Get that college environment up in there. Plus, you got the Rockets and the Texans. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to showcase, hospitalities among the other leagues by welcoming the XFL into a very strong fan base in Houston. So another marketable city that makes sense. I'm not as upset. Originally, I probably would have gone with Oklahoma because I really want to get the Oklahoma-Texas kind of rivalry that they have in college. But this one, I am not going to sweat it that they're not going to have that. So as much as I really want Oklahoma, it's going to be pretty much two teams in Texas, which just makes it more of an in-state rivalry instead of the whole professional Red River rivalry that I was trying to go for. So, welcome Houston. Number 3, we're gonna go back to one of their biggest markets, and also a return of another city that once had an XFL team, and that would be the great city of Los Angeles. That's right, Los Angeles is getting another professional level football team after they pretty much gotten the Chargers and the Rams from two cities that are more than happy to have them back. But no, they took them away. Why Los Angeles? I mean, they were the LA Extreme. They were the only team to win the championship. It just seems smart marketing. A lot of the cities here, you can tell just by saying the name, they okay, it makes sense. Now, I was a little skeptical with this decision because, honestly, I was thinking probably San Diego or Oakland. I know one of those two cities because San Diego lost their team because of rich people, and Oakland's going to lose their team because of poor people. So I was thinking that one of those two cities would be more than happy to have another football team to give the fan base at least something to cheer about. Kind of like a consolation prize, but at least it'll be better than nothing. Sadly, San Diego also part of the Alliance Football League, and they got themselves in the San Diego Fleet, which I kind of like the whole Navy style, logo and they have on their helmets. And Oakland, I feel like Oakland is destined to just be alone and unappreciative once the Raiders go to Las Vegas. I feel like that's really unfair, especially the history of Oakland. So for Los Angeles getting an XFL team, it just makes marketable sense. With the Rams and the Chargers, both were in the playoffs last year, and the thought of an LA Super Bowl seems to be wonderful, and then a new stadium eventually being built, you would think that it makes sense. Believe it or not, their stadium where the XFL LA team will be playing in the Dignity Health, also or it was once known as the StubHub Center, the 30,000 capacity where the Los Angeles Chargers currently play their home games or visiting games, depends on which team shows up, and also home of the Los Angeles Galaxy. So you have a smaller venue compared to the others, but also still have that professional style of comfort to give the fans a wonderful, hometown experience. LA makes sense. Moving on. The last one is probably going to be the one where I have probably one of the few cities that I had a little bit of skepticism on it, and the fourth and final one for at least this side of the division conference, that will be, of course, the city of Seattle, and they will also be playing in the CenturyLink Field, a 68,000 capacity stadium, home of the NFL Seattle Seahawks. I have concerns about this for multiple reasons. Biggest thing is I feel like the Seattle Seahawks, heavily due to their success, have been known has gotten a lot of fan base from their local community that have been more bandwagoners than actual diehard fans. So if your hometown team cannot get get genuine in homebred fans coming in to watch your team play, and then when they start winning, they showing up because that happens to all levels of sports. Don't tell me I don't think I was right. It kind of puts you in the sense of, okay, so do you really believe because you're going to be using an NFL size stadium for an expansion XFL team with already the fear of potentially having another crash and burn? Do you believe a fan base that pretty much only joins on its hometown team because of success, you pretty much, for the XFL Seattle team to have success, they have to be winners out of the gate. They have to be winners out of the gate and succeed. That's probably the only way you're going to get the fan base coming in. Now, granted, the tickets will be cheaper, but you really think you're going to even remotely get close to filling up a 68,000 capacity stadium? It's going to be very hard to do that, especially if you want to show some kind of a profit. The biggest thing is start winning big and go from there. So Seattle, welcome to the XFL. I do have some concerns though. So those are the first 4 teams introduced that I believe, based on their side of the United States and region, this probably could be potentially a We1 conference. Moving on to the other side of the conference, which Why not? We'll start with one of the biggest sports market in all of the United States and maybe even the world. And the first one on this side will be, of course, New York. Another city welcoming back an XFL team again after they were once known as the New Jersey Hitmen. Now, I certainly don't believe that will be the name of it. I think the XFL is trying to go more family-oriented with names. So New York getting themselves an XFL team, cool. But they also will be using the MetLife Stadium, home of the Jets and Giants, which is probably one of the biggest stadium capacities among the XFL franchises and home stadiums. An 82,000 capacity stadium. And the Jets and Giants kind of stunk last year, and their stadium could barely fill half of that. And it's a New York market. New York is very cutthroat with its fans. Not like Philadelphia, but they're pretty close. So once again, like I said about Seattle, you have a great market. You probably have a great community, but it's a very strict, harsher market with the Knicks and the Rangers and of course the Yankees and the Mets. You definitely have to have success in New York if you don't want the media and the fan base to start cutting you to ribbons. It makes sense, like Los Angeles, and is the only other city besides LA and New York are the only two to returning XFL cities coming back. So, New York, welcome back. Hopefully this time will be better. Next, we'll move on to my right prediction, my only right prediction, and that is the city of St. Louis. That was my only right prediction. I mean, with San Diego gone and San Antonio gone, I mean, Oakland gone, Oklahoma gone, pretty much Columbus was the next wing because I thought Cleveland was going to suck for years. But they look good this year, so maybe Columbus was put off the table because of that. So seeing St. Louis get it was the same reason why I thought San Diego was going to get it. They lost their team because of rich people. And St. Louis lost it because they have a fan base that the owners don't appreciate. So St. Louis getting an XFL team, it just feels like it's helped to fill the void. Granted, it's a constellation prize, so it's not really that great. But I feel like for the people of St. Louis, they'll learn to love them as if they're their own. And the best part about it is that this team will start in St. Louis and not just be a transfer of another team from another city and then eventually leave you in the dust. St. Louis getting an XFL team, and it's going to be played in the Dome, or properly, the Dome of American Center at 60,000 capacity. Originally was home of the St. Louis Rams, so it makes sense to fill that wonderful piece of real estate with some sort of professional football team. Bring the fan base back to football in St. Louis, and we'll let it grow from there. St. Louis made sense. I was right. Then we're going to go to probably the biggest question marks, the biggest concerns about all the 8 cities. This team, or this city, is, of course, Tampa Bay. I live in Tampa Bay. And let me tell you right now, we have the worst fan base in the world.
Go fuck yourself.
We do. We have the Lightning, we have the Rays, we have the Buccaneers. Either one of them have been to a championship and 2 have won it all. And during that time, some teams look good. Maybe not went to the playoffs, maybe not gone to the championship, but they have shown success. And during that time, the fan base has not shown up. Now some could say because the prices of tickets are so high. And majority of them will probably say, the team sucks and we quite frankly don't want to be embarrassed by wasting our afternoon watching a team that's going to lose. Understandable. But this is my concern. Very much like I feel about Seattle. If the Tampa Bay XFL team does not become winners right off the bat, you're going to have no fan support. There's barely any fan support for the Rays. There's hardly any fan support for the Bucks. And the only reason why the Lightning, I believe, are getting all the praise in the world because they're a good team, but also they're winning. They're probably one of the most historically better teams in Tampa Bay Lightning history, let alone NHL history, and the success it has. Now, granted, if we don't win a Stanley Cup, I'm sure a riot might break out. Or most fans would be like, I didn't really care about them. I'm just happy they're winning because I live in Tampa. So it's a hometown fandom, and that concerns me. Tampa has no love support for their homegrown teams that have been in Tampa for years, and you think if this XFL team does not start winning successfully right off the bat, you think the fan base is going to stick around and root for this thing? No. This is one of the most dangerous markets to try to put an XFL team. Orlando Power would have been better because they never had a football team to begin with. I mean, they had the Orlando Predators and Arena Football that have won championships, and the Orlando Rage, which was successful. Granted, they lost by 1 point in the playoffs to San Francisco, but at least it was an 8-2. It had the best record in the XFL's inaugurals and only season 2001, which that probably helped the fan base to an extent, but still not enough. Also, they will be playing in Raymond James Stadium, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, which is currently a 65,000 capacity seating. Most seasons as a Buccaneer fan, seeing these games at home, I don't think we even fill half that capacity all of last season home games. It is appalling to see a fan base, be so mistreated of their hometown team, and now you're expecting an XFL team to come in and be like, all right, we're going to fix it. Tampa, big question mark, big concern. XFL, if things go south, I won't be surprised if the city of Tampa is to blame. All right, enough bashing my hometown. Let's talk about the last team, another one which I feel like is a smart reason, but not so much for a financial and marketing play, but I feel like it's an escapism from the political side and the controversy that they live in. And that, of course, would be Washington, D.C. Hear me out. You have a person who has thin skin, very angry, calls out people that he's supposed to be, consider his equal and his fans, and has the money to spend around as much as he wishes, but when things don't go his way, he will bitch and moan, and doesn't admit that he's pretty much borderline a racist. Now, that could be, the President of the United States, or that could be Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Redskins. With the Washington Redskins feeling controversy, not just because of their logo, not because of Dan Snyder spending money like crazy and getting no success, not because he's refusing to acknowledge problems in his organization, not to mention the whole cheerleader thing in Costa Rica that was just wonderful to have under his belt is another problem to deal with. But you have a political side on the other one who have a president who believes that football should be played a certain way, and when football don't goes away, he wants to use it as a type of a political move to make it sound different. So you have two franchises or two people with polarizing views. I think the XFL and DC might be a great escapism from the two great sides, and great, I mean in the most outrageous way of just annoyance. Sometimes maybe you need a break from the president, and sometimes you need a break from Dan Snyder and the Redskins. Go watch the Washington, D.C., whatever. And also, they're going to be playing in Audi Field, home of the D.C. United MLS team. So that is the lowest capacity of all the stadiums, a 20,000 capacity stadium. And very much like I feel about the LA, it'll feel cozy, it'll feel home, have very much of that, let's just play football to play football. It's a great way to appreciate the fans, and I think DC might be the most successful because there's a lot more scrutiny and distractions and pretty much hardship in that city, and I think this will be a great way for an escapism. So to me, DC might be my favorite XFL team that I hope for success. So, those are the 8 teams of the XFL. Of course, the big news that's had the 2 coaches been introduced. Dallas already has announced that Bob Stoops, former Oklahoma Sooners head coach, will take over as Dallas' head coach, which is pretty cool. In a way, I'm kind of like, I said Oklahoma, we got Dallas instead, but then you got Oklahoma's head coach, who's kind of like, okay, so kind of close. I was kind of right there, in a way. And DC has announced Pep Hamilton, head coach and general manager of the Washington team. He has over 10 years of experience in college and professional and coordinator position in the NFL. And good on them to get quality coaches, and good on them to, looking beyond the whole white coaches thing. Point for them. So, no announcement of the teams yet, so I guess we just have to wait on that, and when that time comes, I will, of course, announce it to you all. And thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.